So we're gonna start with the users. There's a lot of stuff in the user profiles, and we'll look at some auto attendants, the holiday menus. Did you push to talk? I love that. SMS registration, some reporting, and we're going to finish up with Zoom tickets. We'll see how much time we have for those items. I have a few more if we move quickly. Just want to start with a refresher that when we're adding users, right, it's a two-step process to get people into Zoom Phone, and it requires their cooperation. So if you've never added people to Zoom Phone before, if you're thinking about moving on to Zoom Phone, if you don't have it yet, we go to add the user. We can do multiple email addresses, so that makes it pretty easy. You're going to select their license, and if they're going to be Zoom Phone, make sure to select the Zoom Phone Basic too, right? Which products they get. You can put them all in their department, these descriptions. And once you add those users, they will be here under pending. They have to accept the email invitation. So kind of a key thing that is different maybe with other phone systems you've had than is with Zoom. And then once we get them in, right, we'll come into the actual users and we can add their licenses, right? So they'll have Zoom Phone Basic, which lets you call each other with voice, but to call outside, we'll have to give them a license plan. Most of you have this USCA unlimited calling plan. I've got a couple of options here, right? So if you have Power Pack or if you have some other licenses, you'll see those available on the drop-down list. So let's go through and we'll look at some of these neat policy settings. Get a lot of questions from my customers that used to be on ShoreTel. So a lot of these may resonate with you because I was a ShoreTel, MyTel admin for a long time. And yep, phone system management. So I always make sure the voicemail transcription is turned on, right? And I like the voicemail video mail. One of the other things I like to do is, well, we can look at this too right here. We'll start here. Restrict call and SMS hours. If you have employees that aren't supposed to be working maybe outside of their business hours or outside of the location, maybe they have the mobile app, but you wanted to control that or the hours, we have these options here. So I think that's interesting. Check voicemails over the phone. This actually comes up occasionally where so especially on new installs where there's always someone that just wants to call in like they used to for the old voicemail system. We can do that. And that is what this checkbox is. So you would call in, you hit star, or you wait till the voicemail picks up, and then you'll enter your PIN code. Emergency address management, that's pretty important now with all the recent laws. And this one right here lets people update their emergency address. Maybe they're working from home, right? And then we can turn on a prompt to confirm that. Automatic call recording is included with your Zoom. So if you want to turn that on for a person or for groups, we can do both of those. And we can even access who's allowed to see those call recordings. Same thing, I like to turn on the recording transcriptions. That just makes things simpler for me. Zoom phone on a mobile, you can turn that off, right? Maybe we don't want everybody to have the mobile app. So that's a feature that doesn't come up usually during the implementations, but it's a question that comes up later. SMS, a lot of SMS features here, right? Some of these require the power pack, and as you follow along, you'll see those that do. But these are templates, right? So maybe we can have some canned responses to reply back to people. Call handling, right? If you don't want people to forward their calls out, we can do that. Same with call overflows, transfers, call park, right? How long a call spot takes before it comes back to you. I think we all remember parking a call, right? But if somebody doesn't answer the parked call, this will bring it back to us. Mobile switch to carrier. So this one is like, think if you're out and about a lot, right? Maybe your sales, my customers have sheriffs that are on Zoom phone. And when you're out in these remote areas of maybe Wyoming, the data is not so good. So we let them swap to the native carrier, and there's even a setting to start it with the native carrier if you know you're going to be out like that a lot. Intercom calls. So this is like the old school intercom, right? Where I push a button and the far end goes on speakerphone. I see this not so much commonly used anymore, but maybe if you're a lobby phone and somebody's covering the front desk, right? You can see that somebody's at the door, they've come up. Instead of getting up, you could intercom them through the lobby phone at the front and they could talk and you could interact with visitors. Maybe it's UPS or somebody like that, right? Mm, there is so much in here. The AI companion, I love to turn on the AI companion, right? It's great. Zoom has included this. We'll see transcriptions of your calls live while they're happening with the AI companion. And I do like turning that on for me. I think that's great. All right, let's get over some of the more interesting things. User settings. Um, Business hours. You can set your business hours, and I I love it, right? It does a couple of things. It keeps the call ringing where you want them to after hours. I have had lots of people say, the problem with the mobile app is if somebody calls me, it rings my phone at 2 a.m. Well, we can fix that, right? And at the same time, during our on and off hours, we can control things a little different on how the calls ring. One of the biggest requests I get is to tone down the noise a little bit when a call comes in. So right now I'm ringing all of these devices, and it does make a lot of noise. But we can make them sequential, right? When I'm in the office, or we could even turn some off. Maybe I don't need the mobile app to ring while I'm at work, right? And probably don't need an appliance app. So say the desktop app and maybe my phone. That's two items, right, that are ringing. But if I set this to sequential, now when I come to edit, I can pick which one comes first. So maybe I want it to ring my desk phone first and then my desktop app. So we have those options there. And if you don't have a desk phone, you won't see the desk phone option. How long does it ring, right? What happens when I'm busy? We can send these calls to a lot of places, right? And usually we forward it to voicemail, but we could forward them to an external number. Allow the callers to reach an operator. Um, Sometimes when it goes to voicemail, like you don't want to, people, maybe they need a live answer. So we can tick this and it creates a little mini auto attendant that says, if you want to leave a message, press one. But if you need a live answer or live help, press two. We can send them over to the operator. And then for our closed hours, same idea, right? I can set which items ring. For me, I'm not ringing anything, but if you're the kind of person that needs to be reached after hours, maybe you just turn on the mobile app and let the mobile app ring you if somebody calls you when you're closed. Notice that the desktop phone is not here. They have assumed that you're not taking your desktop phone with you after hours. Big one is the holiday list, right? And we'll look at that in a couple of places. But holidays, I don't have any program for me as an individual. If you had maybe time off that was coming up, right, that might be a reason for a personal holiday. Usually we cover these at the queue level or at the auto tenant level, but we enter our holidays here, select our dates and our times. The time might be the whole day. The time might be for half a day. Maybe we've got I don't know, an early out one day, or maybe you're leaving early. So you could set yourself into that kind of holiday mode and then adjust your holiday message. We're going to cover push to talk, but you can see that I am in a push to talk queue, right? So that's like the old Nextel phones. From this web page, all the users have access to this, right? So you can log yourself in and out of a queue if you forgot to log yourself out of a queue when you left, and you can see your queue membership. I have a delegate. We can delegate for meetings, which is primarily what Stephanie does for me, but you can set somebody to help you out, right? They can make calls in your behalf, which will show your caller ID. And then once the person picks up, you could say, hey, Bob, I've got Jack on the line finally. I transfer him over. They can answer calls for you, right? You can pick up held calls. So delegation is something I don't see used a lot, but I do get asked about it. Here's the intercom settings if you guys want to set up intercom on your phones. We've got that, right? Web interface. So if you're having problems with your Zoom phone, Zoom will say collect the logs and it's in the web interface. But guess what? This is disabled by default. So we can turn it on globally or we can turn it on for an individual, right? But the web interface is sometimes needed for additional technical support. So just be aware, if you're going to support and they say get to the web interface and you can't, it's off by default. And then the password for the web interface would be right here. Keys and positions. For those of you that have desk phones and you want to program some buttons, this is where the buttons are. So we've got our line key. The first one is always a line key, and that's literally your line that just says, caller ID and if I'm on the phone or not. I've got a speed dial here, and this is actually a speed dial to pick up a call queue, right? And we get time, we'll take a look at those later. But sometimes you don't want to be in a queue, but you hear the queue ringing and nobody's answering. You can pick up a call queue. So I've set a speed dial there. Could be a 10-digit number, right? Whatever you like. And then got a busy lamp field here. So I want to know when my boss is on the phone or not so that I can call him quickly without having to check his calendar all the time. So depending on how many buttons are on your phone, right, we can program buttons, and then most phones will do like another page where you could swap to the next button. So if you like to have, usually I see these busy lamp fields where people want to see others' extensions and watch them. This is how we would set those up. Mm, Call screening. Now, I don't get this one a lot, but what this does is say you're getting, just for whatever reason, your phone number's out there and you're overwhelmed with robocalls. Well, this forces them to press a key, like press 2 to be connected to you. And it does stop most of those robocallers from getting through to you. I don't see this turned on a lot, but if you're stuck in their lists, this could help reduce some of the noise for you a little bit. Of course, we can block phone numbers on an individual level, or we can block them at a higher level from coming into the system. But this is where your phone numbers that are blocked are. And if you're going to add them, you can add them in here. So if you've got some spam callers that are regularly calling you, you can block them here. And that's it for our settings in Zoom Phone. Let's go down and look at our auto attendants. So if you set up these auto attendants before, or if you've looked at them, they would be, this is fairly familiar to what I usually see in other systems. Some interesting things, if you're doing cost centers, right, we can set this main number and calls that come in to the cost center. If you're forwarding a call out to a 10-digit phone number, they can be metered. So that's where a cost center might come in, right? If there's a cost associated with forwarding those calls out. There's two different places in the prompts here, and this is what I see when people are making auto attendants get caught up on. This first greeting prompt, this does not bring you into the menu where you can push the button. This would be used, think like if you have a mini Miranda notice, right? Like you're a debt collector, or if you just want to say all calls are recorded without people being able to enter an extension number and shortcut your message. This would be what we call a mandatory message. And then once we come into, here we go, edit. This is where we get, our options and the greeting that's actually going to play. But what's new is allow people to navigate by IVR voice. So, well, I've got my message that'll play, right? Press 0, it looks like we're going to leave a voicemail, or press 1 to forward, right? You can put things in like help or the king or message, right? We get up to 2 words that we can put in, but we get now that you can press or say one, or you can press or say customer service, right? Or you can press or say. So I love that. This was new to me, and I'm excited to share that we can now have an actual interactive voice response where we're responding with that voice. A lot of people will call it an IVR, but you can't talk to it. We can talk to it now. So I love that. Um, and then here's our holiday list. So if you're following along with me, now's a good time to follow along and look at our office closures, and let's check the holidays and make sure that they're up to date for 2025. This comes up a lot somewhere around Thanksgiving or Christmas or New Year's, whichever one that didn't get updated. And it's like, oh, the phones are ringing. They're not going to our holiday menu. So please check the holiday menu at this time. Push to talk. So this is I love this. I saw this added in when I was preparing for this class, and I think it is great. Push to talk is right here in the phone systems, and you'll see push to talk. You create a group, right? So we put a group in, and this is my group. I think I've only put one person in it. Oh, there's three. Look at that. Thought I only had Ashley in here, but there we go. So I've got 3 people in my push to talk. I can add more, right? And the way it works on your mobile, let's see if I can show you what that looks like. All right, so here's my mobile, right? And on a Zoom phone icon, right here at the bottom, I've got history, voicemail, my lines. If I have some delegated phone lines I'm watching, my text messages, and here's my number pad. But if you have push to talk enabled, you'll see push to talk, and that's what I've selected. So it says I'm connected. I can disconnect from it. If you want to silence it, because it might get loud during the day, right? Or you don't need it, you're done working. Um, you can disconnect it, but I can hold the button. Hey, Tim. Hey, Ashley. I'm talking to you. And we can do that Nextel thing. So, and look, Ashley can hear me, right? So that is the push to talk feature. And that might be new for you guys. It was certainly new for me. Reporting. Zoom calls this logs in Zoom phone, right? And I get requests for, calls or what happened with a call. And this is a lot better than it was a couple of years ago. So I went and put some calls into the phone system today, and we can kind of take a look and just see. But all kinds of ways to filter, right? We can just search for an extension. Usually the question it's I called 5 times today and nobody answered, right? Or I got transferred around and then I got hung up on. We get those calls or those requests as an administrator, and we want to see what's happening. So this is all my calls, right? But we can filter, right, by our groups, right? I can filter by extensions, right? If it's a user or a call queue or an auto attendant, if it was recorded, right? We can look at some of these events, right? This is Barge Monitor Whisper, by the way. It's not a cool German car, but it's if somebody was listening to a call, maybe a supervisor to a new staff member, right? And we can run a report and see these calls and we can filter through. So pretty easy to filter for a single person, a single phone number, or to look at all of them. And once we have our calls filtered, we can export them to CSV. It fills in the date time for you. So you might miss this piece at the top that it's got a date range here. If you're not seeing what you're looking for, check this date range. A lot of times that's caught me before. So, and once we see a call, right, we see these incoming calls, we see some that are outgoing, we get this call path and we get a lot of great details out of this, more than you might expect. So in here, right, we see caller verified. That's showing as we work to get those number spoofing and those spam calls cut down. Zoom is checking your phone number and making sure it's coming from the carrier they expect it to come from. We can see my call path, right? See the time, from and to, how long we waited for me to answer, right? Some talking time. And here are call recordings. Get a little details, right? Looks like Stephanie was my delegate for phone. So I guess I was bugging her a little bit before work, right? But we can see all of it, right? So I can see my delegate rang as well as it rang to me. Then I can see here that I picked up the call, right? I did answer it, talk time. I transferred this call to reception. Here's six. And we can see that it went to reception. That's my reception queue. And it overflowed and I rejected the call. So this is nice because in a call queue, you can see, right? I transfer this from me to the call queue and then I hit reject. You can see if your call queue members are not taking the calls and passing them on to other people. So we even get down to that level of detail. And then we can see that it went to a voicemail and I can play that message that was recorded there as well. In the recordings, right, I can play them, but I could also see the transcript for those calls. So I don't have to listen to them. I can click here and see what the AI did to record those calls. So I do love how they've jazzed up this reporting over the last couple of years. Good thing if you're doing automatic call recordings, right? You can search for them. And when you hit play, it's going to also have the transcription for you of the call recording, right? Just like this one here. And it's the same call recording that we just saw a minute ago. The one I want to touch on and make sure we get to is SMS campaigns and registration. And this one's a little harder, right? When you go into your phone numbers, right, you can go into the admin side and you'll see your phone numbers under number management. I can see that we have not registered ourselves for our 10 DLC campaign. And so our text messages show red. Every phone number has to be part of an SMS, a text messaging campaign. So this was imposed on us, right, by T-Mobile, Verizon, and AT&T. I think we've all gotten well sick of the spam messages. And this SMS campaign registration is something that well, I know a lot of times in provisioning and then sometimes post provisioning for the customers that got grandfathered in, it's been a real pain point to them. We'll come in and we'll look at my brand name. So this is just the company. And then we create a campaign. So these campaigns are intent based. And with Zoom, they've limited you to 49 people in a campaign. However, you can work with them and make a ticket to get that number larger, right? And they want to know what you're doing to contact their customers. We want to see privacy descriptions on your website, right? They want to know how you're consenting to this SMS messaging. Zoom's made this pretty easy in that everything is outlined here. They tell you what will be rejected. Here's your privacy policy, right? You can do a screenshot of it if you want. They want to see the URL for your privacy policy. And if you have a form, right, that lets people collect numbers, and they want to know what you're doing with those phone numbers, right? Like they want to know that you're not sharing them out for marketing purposes. It's become very intense, and the company that is managing this, the campaign registry, TCR, you can look them up online. Their rules have evolved. and we constantly keep track of what's the latest as we all work together to shut down those spam messages. But the website privacy policy is probably the part that's been the hardest for my customers because if they don't have one, they have to write one, right? And put it on their website where people can find it. We got some permissions, right? Can we send messages to people that we haven't contacted before? Opt-in messages, and you can set your opt-in messages, right? And your opt-out, right? Like if they do stop, and then there's a help as well. So these are canned, but you can edit them. Zoom is going to send these for you. So these are automated messages that are going to come from the system. You don't have to remember to do these, but you'll need to customize them to make sure they reflect your brand and your messaging the right way. And here it is, right? If you need more than 49 numbers, you click yes, and you can work with Zoom. We have here how many licenses, right? You tell them why you need more numbers, and they'll help you with more numbers. For that, you hit continue, and the process begins. If you need help, this is something that client success can help with. I know we've had Gaia working with one of our customers who's been struggling through it and he's just been doing amazing things, helping them out on getting their campaign registered. So if you want to get your phone numbers SMS enabled and you're having trouble with this, we get a screen share going. We'll walk you through. If you get rejected, we can help you understand what they want to get your text messaging going. This is a big thing for people, right? Getting these going. So we're here to help. Call queues, touch on these just a little bit, right? I mentioned that speed dial that I had, right? And that is this pickup code here. Not used often, but if you have a help desk ring group, right? But you're not in the help desk ring group, maybe you're a manager, but occasionally you want to be able to pick up a call, right? It's star 99 and you configure your own code for that pickup. In this case, I did 1984. The year Matrix Networks was founded. We are 40 years old. I think it's next week, but it's coming up very soon. See your members here, right? And then here's our admin. So you can administer, we can set people to administer just a specific call queue, right? And this limits the time an administrator has to do things. So if they're setting people into the queue, or they're setting hours on a queue, or maybe what the messaging is on the greeting, the distribution, all of that stuff, we can delegate that to someone and let them take care of those items for us, right? Same idea. There's a holiday list here. Make sure if you have a direct number like I do coming into your queue, you have a holiday list and you manage what happens for the holiday call handling. Right? In our queue here, right? I can add my holidays here just like with an individual or with an auto attendant. We can set cost centers if we need to as well. And then, yeah, here's our hours. Policies, right? So when you leave a voicemail in a queue, we have to say who's going to actually get those voicemails, right? And here's our member list here of people that can access those queue voicemails. It might be everybody, might just be one person. Maybe we rotate once a month who's going to take care of those, but that's right here. Transcription, I don't know why we would turn this off, but there's our transcription, right? And then our outbound notification. Maybe we just want the transcription. Maybe you don't want that voicemail file. I get both, but it's an option here. And then here's our call recordings. Call recordings come with Zoom, and we can set automatic call recordings on our queues as well as on our individuals. Member list is who can listen to those call recordings, right? Who's the supervisor? Maybe it's different than the queue supervisor that made changes. Maybe you've got a lead that will be listening to these call recordings. So we can set a list there for who can access them. And then we have these audio notifications. I don't personally like Zoom's audio notifications. It's kind of weird on the outbound if I'm calling on behalf or if I'm calling from my extension. And on the inbound, it sounds a little canned. So usually I do that mandatory greeting that, on an auto attendant or on a queue that just says, for quality purposes, all calls are recorded. But you can try it. and see if you like the way that it sounds or not. And of course, we can manage how those are, right? So here's my prompt to the call. It looks like I'm playing silence. I'm not prompting them at all. And then when it's stopped, it'll say that the recording is stopped. We do have an option for a beep tone. Some people like that comfort noise for a beep tone, but we can edit the audio notification for when we're recording calls. Here's the enabling the call queue pickup, right? And then well, if you're following along, you're going to see the SMS down here in the call queue. So SMS in the call queue comes with a Power Pack license, and people Power Pack license does a lot of things, but one of the things it does is allow text messages for auto attendance or for call queues. And users with that Power Pack license can get these text messages and respond back to them and pick them up just like a queue call. PowerPack also gives supervisors some enhanced reporting and enhanced views into the queues there. So if there's something you'd like to see a demo of, let the client success team know. We have a complete Zoom phone environment and we have plenty of licenses so we can demo for you what that looks like. And then these other items, right, they come with it, like a text message template. When the text message comes in, it might say, hey, we'll be right with you, or something like that. A little bit of comfort while we get ready to handle that text message communication. This is the same call screening if for some reason your queue is getting a bunch of spam calls. I've noticed that these spam campaigns come in waves, sometimes like about 30 days, and then the people making the calls, they just give up and they get a new list. So you may have to turn on the call screen only for a little bit of time until you work through their list and never actually connect a call. Maybe they'll drop you and you can go back to doing business as usual. But we have that here. And then the other thing that I would say that I see a lot of people not using is queue opt-out reason. Normally, I only get this with a contact center and those associated $70, $100 plus a month licenses. But we can do that here in Zoom Phone, just at that basic, and we can edit these, right? So this gives me an idea of if people aren't in the queue and I'm looking at my queue members, I can see, oh, Auntie's at lunch, or she's training, or she's doing deliveries or warehouse work, whatever that is, we can customize those. And we also have the option to create a chat channel just around our call queue. So like that too. Mm, we are, I think I got a little more time. Roles and features, right? Um, we've got some roles here, and here's the roles that I have set up. I think we can look at all of them. Does it show everybody? Owner, admin, and member. Not everybody's going to be able to see the roles here. The owner, one person is the owner, right? There's only one account that's the owner, and they're the ones that have all the permissions, right? And then they'll see a little bit more here than I do because Ryan's our account owner. But we can see in Zoom Phone, what I wanted to come back and touch on is the call queue admin that we talked about, right? So we can create custom groups, and the way you would do it is pick one that you think is close to what you want and selecting duplicate, right? These are our default groups that come in, and let's take a look here at the edit. So you'll notice, right, with the default groups, I can't change these. I would have to duplicate it if I wanted to make some adjustments, but we can see what a call queue manager has access to. So if this is what you want to give them access to, that's great. If you want to trim this down a little bit, we would duplicate this right this role and then uncheck the items that we don't want to show. And then company info, right? That is over here, right at the bottom of Zoom Phone. And this is where we can apply a lot of these settings we saw on more of a group level, right? And some things that I think are interesting, right? Here's a desk phone. We can turn on the web interface for everybody. So if we're working tickets, right, Maybe we want to turn it on for everybody. Just know that this here, notice you have to reboot the phone for these changes to apply, right? So I turn on the web interface, it does need a reboot. One of the things that I know we did a lot in the short tells is we would put a company logo on our phones, right? All the phones we've sold, I think for years now, these are commodity items and they come with color screens. You could put your company logo on there, and I think it looks great. You get the right logo. Note though, I can't upload a file. It has to be a web link. So some web links are better than others. When I'm going through and looking at them, I'm right clicking on the picture that I like and I'm opening the picture in a new tab to get the link for them. So that's pretty neat. And I do love setting up a custom logo for people. There's a lot in here. Um, there's also, right, our block list. So this is where we can block numbers at the company site, right? We could do them if you have multiple locations, you could do them at the location. Since we only have one, we would be blocking them globally for everybody. 911's a big deal. So there's a lot of stuff that Zoom does with 911. We're not going to be able to cover it here, but if you're interested in learning more about what Zoom can do for 911, we can do more than just route calls to our a PSAP is what we call it, right? But that is our emergency, there we go, public safety answering point. For an extension without a local phone number, right? We're going to send those calls maybe somewhere else because what happens in this case, right? Somebody has to call back, right? Not every Zoom phone has a phone number. You don't have to have a direct number with Zoom phone, but it does impact emergency call-in, so you just have to be aware. But know that we can set up nomadic emergency services. We can set up who gets the alerts, right? Um, I do love this, right? If they've moved something, right? They've put this emergency services alerts here, but then they've moved it. At least they show us where they moved it to. So that's nice. We can set up locations for our emergency services, right? And the idea is the phone will know if it's in a different network, IP address, and when we can set up locations and tie them there. We can get fairly granular too, right? Like the second floor. So if you haven't taken the time to set up this 911, maybe you're on a campus with some larger locations and you'd like to make it more granular for the emergency team when they come, not just to show up at reception, right? But to show up to the, I don't know, the science building or the manufacturing, building for, we can add that in. So just note that that is something that can be done. And then the last thing I want to do is talk about support, right? Support is up here under this button. And they don't make it as easy as they could, in my opinion, to get support, right? There's a lot of self-serve. I will say that typing in what you want to find here in the self-serve is great, right? I have gotten a lot of great responses out of it, and it's been easy. And many times it's gotten me what I want to see. Getting started, right? They cover all kinds of items here. We can see the release notes, right? Here's what's new. But all the way down at the bottom is contacting Zoom support. And they give us learn more. So here again, they push us to the self-serve, right? But we come down, and this is what I want to point out is that not all Zoom, everybody gets the exact same level of Zoom support. They will let you know what you can get as an individual user, right? Or a staff member. If you're an administrator, depending on how many phones are in your plan, right? If you have 500, it's a little bit different than if you have 10, right? But you'll see what you can get right here. And most of us, like so, the individual wants to, right? You're not an administrator. They'll be able to get chat support and web tickets, but they won't be able to get support on the phone. Only if you are an administrator and caveat, right? Licensed users only. So an admin account without a license, they're not going to give you the support. You actually have to apply a paid license to get that admin support. Seems a little odd to me, right? And then we see these check boxes here, right? Subscriptions greater than $50 a month, subscription plans greater than $200 a month. So they are tying that support, right? If you have the basic Zoom Phone Pro plan, which is the 15 a month, and it's just Zoom Phone only, to that $200 a month or more. We're using the Enterprise Plus, and they will tell you which plan you're on, so you'll know. Here's where they were happy to sell you to bump in line if you want. You can get to tier 2 instead. And then all the way here, you have to submit a ticket online. And then finally, I can get the phone number for Zoom support. So if you're wondering how to make a support ticket, that is where to find it, who can call in, and how to make a ticket. Tim, I think I'm at my time.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Henry. Good work. You know so much about that product. It is really helpful to have your insight and experience available to our clients. Um, I am going to share my screen and jump back into the rest of the agenda. Thank you again, Henry. That was awesome. I think we are live now on what's new with the platform. Give me a thumbs up, Henry, if we're good. Great. 2 thumbs up. Excellent. So again, like I said, the rest of the agenda is really covering what's new with Zoom and then what services come with Matrix that you may not have realized that you can take advantage of. And then Q&A at the top of the hour. So Zoom Phone has been busy making changes and improvements to their platform. I'll cover a few. You see them on the screen. So navigate IVR by voice. So this is neat. And that remind me, Henry, if you covered that or not in
I
that little
did. We
checkbox.
looked
Yeah.
at that.
Okay.
We did.
I thought so. Yeah. So he already covered this. I won't go into depth about it, but pretty cool that you can allow callers to press or say one. A lot of other cloud phone systems push you into contact center for this type of function. And it's just to be aware, this is not a full IVA platform. Callers can't say full sentences like schedule an appointment for tomorrow at 4. But that is something Matrix can build for you if you're interested. And a variety of awesome use cases for that. But still really valuable that they can at least recognize the voice, and natural language processing is becoming very good and very common. AI powered summaries. So used to only apply to video meetings, where after a meeting, of course, you get used to now receive an AI generated summary of what was discussed and what the action items were. But Zoom now lets you enable that same functionality for the phone system. So that means you can read and search call transcripts, scripts, call summaries, notes, all those sorts of things, help you double check later what was discussed. But it does not just apply to calls. So it summarizes SMS threads. It pulls suggested tasks out of your voicemail transcripts. I think that's kind of cool. It can even detect, check this out, like whether or not a voicemail sounds urgent or not. So sometimes you might have even seen that iPhone, new iOS, and Apple Intelligence, and all that stuff, and it'll say, hey, this message sounds urgent. You might want to look at it. Similar with voicemails in the Zoom phone system. I'm not seeing any other cloud phone system be able to do this yet, and so this is kind of cool. And it'll prioritize that and say, hey, you should probably listen to this voicemail. And this can be really helpful for people who do not like to answer the phone, but need to know when something's on fire and needs their attention, which is pretty much every IT professional out there. So there we go. Mobile SMS. I put these kind of in the same category, but there's a couple different features here. Push to talk was already highlighted by Henry. Turns that mobile app into a live audio walkie-talkie. There was a question in Q&A about whether that can be used on desk phones. At this time, no. It can be used on mobile or the Zoom desktop app, but all software. I think, but I don't know, that they'll enable it for the desk phones that are at least some of them that have that are cordless and have a dedicated push to talk button on them. There are some like Grand Stream WP800 series phones that have that now, and others as well. So I think they'll eventually enable it because that's a good like walkie-talkie roaming phone. So try that out if that's helpful. Sometimes in the construction or warehouse or healthcare or retail security, there are certain use cases for that type of tool, and it's kind of cool and kind of fun. You can use a call sign and bust out a niner whenever you use the walkie-talkie. Okay, so SMS. I have SMS tools on here too. Uh, Zoom is above and beyond what others do in terms of its SMS tool set, and they've been investing in this. So they can enable custom SMS templates, so speed up repeated communications. They have an SMS etiquette policy, which is cool. So you like define keywords in a policy that prevent an unapproved or inappropriate message from being sent from your system. So it's not just bad words, but it can prevent sharing confidential information, sensitive financial information, help you maintain certain compliance, HIPAA compliance, or something like that, and say, nope, this message isn't even going to go out. It breaks our policy. SMS auto reply for out of office, after hours, opt in, or subscription confirmations. Those are sorts of things I think are pretty cool. And then SMS queuing. So it's like a phone call queue, but for SMS, centralizes your SMS communication by a department or a certain channel, lets agents claim an incoming SMS. They like say, this is for me, and then they'll take it. Then they can release it to others in the queue to pick up the conversation from there. So I think it's a cool thing. When Matrix moves to a Zoom phone for ourselves, which we may do, I will be implementing this feature for my client success team. I think it's a great feature. Couple things in all that SMS stuff. All of them require what's called the Zoom Power Pack or Zoom Phone Power Pack. It's an extra add-on. It is required for these SMS add-on features, but it may very well be worth it. Talk to your rep. We can do a demo on any of these things and give you more information. Customer service side, contact center. This has been growing like crazy. They've been putting a lot of development into the contact center. It is a true omni-channel cloud contact center. If you utilize call queues heavily and don't love the reporting it's giving you, or you're using a bunch of different third-party tools to kind of piece together a contact center in terms of chat or SMS, you can consolidate all of those customer-facing channels, single platform, video channel, which is cool, social media, virtual agent, and then voice, chat, SMS, of course, too. And you could use integrations and natural language processing to automate certain repetitive tasks, like the scheduling appointment example I named earlier, provide really advanced self-service options for callers. So this whole platform is great. It can be a game changer for client experience if you're in kind of the customer service leadership side of things, or if it's more about money, serious money saving can be had from this type of solution if you're trying to please the CFO, because you might need to find new efficiencies in the business. I mean, there's a cost to a contact center, but every good contact center pays for itself when designed well, when engineered well, a use case and an ROI is built. So let us help you with that. It is what we do. All right. Again, live demos and pricing are available for all these things. Let us know if any of them are interesting to you. Here's that list of services I mentioned. So these are some benefits, no charge benefits of really purchasing and through Matrix and considering us your local Zoom phone partner. Long list of here. I'm not going to read all of them, but and I don't even think this list is complete. But there are perks of being part of the Matrix family. So I want to call out that support escalations. Oftentimes people get mad at Zoom phone support before they take any action to let us know that they're not happy. Let us help you. Let us escalate. We have access to back-end partner channels to escalate tickets and to solve problems. We want to make sure that you're happy and getting max value out of the system. And sometimes just tier 1 support, or even any tier of support at Zoom, sometimes just doesn't think creatively enough about how to solve the problem, or doesn't understand the urgency of the situation. So we can help you with that. Training refreshers, as we're doing here. But if there are specific trainings for users, let us know. We can help with that. Any sort of network engineering to help optimize for voice, to help make sure that even if internet goes down, your phone calls stay up. There is excellent technology for that these days, and we are professionals at engineering it and deploying it. So we can help with that. And there's a lot of other things on here too. And so please let us know if we can be of service to you. Finally, last thing before the open mic Q&A, we have an offering that some of you have heard about, some of you haven't, and that is called MCX, stands for Matrix Client Experience. Pairs perfectly with Zoom because while Zoom Phone is an excellent platform, admittedly, their biggest weakness is probably the support experience. And it's no crazy fault on them. It's just they outsource it mostly to the Philippines and Singapore and other countries too. And it makes it hard with language barriers or just not being able to solve things very quickly. And there's a revolving door of different techs, and they're always in different levels of training, and so it makes it tough. And so I know if I open the mic now, we could all share a couple horror stories of a low level tech who just can't figure it out and it just wastes time, doesn't escalate it properly, or getting a support call at a weird hour of the night or whatever. So on the flip side, the quality of our matrix tech, some of you have experienced because you came from a Mitel system where we had a support agreement, but it's what sets us apart as a company. For those of you who've had the pleasure of working with techs like Anson or David or Brian or John, Jason, Panak, others, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And MCX allows you to work with those techs who know you, know your business, are very responsive and very creative in solving problems, whether that's Zoom Phone or Contact Center or any other phone system, actually entirely. So this can be a really big deal if you're someone who loves Zoom Phone but doesn't love their support experience. And it provides much more than just support. So yes, we have an NPS score that's 90 plus. That's pretty awesome and actually really unheard of in the industry. But there's a long list of other services besides support that come with this. I won't read these, but you can review them and say, oh, that's cool. That goes beyond just, skipping tier 1 and getting into tier 2 or something like that. So when Henry was comparing different Zoom Phone support options, yes, they have multiple options as well. This is a competitor essentially to that. We believe it is heads and tails above in terms of just not just quality of support and experience, but also the breadth of services offered. And that's the goal, is to add value to you, and the looking at being able to look at the network and see how that connects to the quality of voice, for example. Zoom doesn't go that far.
Tim, I
Yep.
would also say that we don't, I kind of emphasize all the hoops you have to go through to make a ticket.
Oh yeah. I saw that.
We're not going to put you through hoops, right?
Just
We're going to
email
make it
service at
easy.
mtrx.com or give us a call, and we'll
We,
24/7 we'll help you out. There's a offer at the top. You see the little 1 month free badge. So for those of you who are attending this and lasted this long, awesome. Which it doesn't look like anyone's actually left yet. Free month, and that means valid until the end of Q1 of 2025. So plenty of time, but I encourage you to lock this in by booking a meeting this week. Not that it needs to be happen this week, but just booking a meeting this week to lock in that offer, to discuss this, to see if it makes sense. If it doesn't, no worries. If it does, great. I think probably worth the effort of exploring it, discussing it, and pricing it out. So hopefully this is helpful information to you. I want to thank you so much, really, genuinely, for your partnership.